Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take some really fascinating material and pull out the key ideas, basically giving you a shortcut to getting properly informed.
Yeah, cutting through the noise.
Exactly. And today we're diving into parts of a script called The Scientific Miracles of the Quran.
It's pretty compelling stuff. It looks at potential links,
Hmm.
between this 1,400-year-old text and what science is discovering now.
Right. So our mission, like always, is to sort of unpack the claims and the ideas in the sources you've given us. We want to lay it out so you can think about how faith and reason are shown, well, maybe aligning in surprising ways here.
And we're presenting it impartially, of course. It's for you to mull over.
Absolutely. Okay, let's unpack this.
I think the really interesting thing, the core question it raises, is how. How can a text from way back in the 7th century talk about, say, natural processes that science only really got a handle on much, much later?
That's the crux of it, isn't it? It's presented as this kind of astonishing convergence.
Exactly. It makes you think about knowledge itself, how it's gained, how it's revealed, maybe.
Okay, so where do we start? Maybe with the biggest question of all. The universe. How did it all begin? That's something people have wondered about forever.
Right. And the source material highlights a specific verse. It's from Surah Al-Anbiya, verse 21.30.
Okay, what does it say?
It says something like, "The heavens and the earth were once a joined entity, then separated. A single unit, then split apart."
A joint entity, then separated. Okay, so how does that connect, or how is it presented as connecting to modern science?
Well, the immediate parallel that gets drawn is with the Big Bang Theory. The idea that everything started from this incredibly dense, hot point of singularity,
A kind of joined entity.
possibly, conceptually speaking, and then it expanded rapidly, separated. So the verse is presented as this maybe early glimpse or conceptual description of that cosmic beginning.
A 1,400-year-old glimpse.
Yeah.
It's definitely thought-provoking to see that parallel drawn. Okay, so that's the universe on the grandest scale. What about life itself, like human life?
Yeah, the sources shift from the massive scale of the cosmos right down to the microscopic, the development of a human embryo.
Which is incredibly complex. I mean, the journey from conception to birth is just, wow. What does the text say about that?
Well, Surah Al-Mu'minun, verses 12 to 14, it describes stages. It talks about creation from a drop of fluid
Okay.
to a clot, then a lump of flesh, and finally bones clothed with flesh. It lays out a sequence.
A sequence, a clot, a lump, then bones covered with flesh. Now that's where it gets really interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because how does that line up with what embryology tells us today?
That's the striking part highlighted in the sources. Modern embryology confirms a sequence very much like that. You start with the zygote, the fertilized
The
egg.
drop of fluid, perhaps?
That's the connection made.
Mhm.
Then implantation, which might relate to the clot idea, so mean clinging. Then the formation of somites, these blocks of tissue that look a bit like lumps.
A lump ball.
Exactly. And then the skeletal system develops from some of those tissues, and muscles, the flesh, develop around the bones. So bones first, then closed with flesh. The sequence is presented as remarkably precise.
And the challenge is, how could anyone have known that level of detail back then? Without microscopes, without modern dissection techniques?
Right. Medical understanding in the 7th century was, very different. Observing these internal microscopic stages would have been impossible with the technology of the time.
So the source material presents this as a real puzzle for a purely historical or empirical explanation. It pushes you to consider other possibilities for where that knowledge came from.
Precisely. It's presented as evidence that challenges conventional assumptions about the limits of ancient knowledge.
Okay, so we've seen the cosmos and the microcosm of human development. What about our planet, Earth's systems? Did the sources touch on things like water, mountains?
Absolutely. Water, obviously essential for life. Surah Az-Zumar, verse 39.21 is mentioned. It describes how Allah sends water from the sky, causing vegetation to grow.
Simple, but profound. It sounds like a neat summary of the water cycle, doesn't it?
It really does. You've got the source water from the sky, precipitation,
Yeah.
the result vegetation growing.
Right.
It encapsulates that whole process: evaporation, condensation, rain, and then life springing forth. It's described as, poetic, but scientifically accurate.
Okay, water makes sense. What about mountains? How are they described?
Mountains are described in Surah An-Naba, verses 6 and 7, as pegs or stakes.
Pegs. Like tent pegs holding something down.
That's the idea, pegs, stabilizers. And what's interesting is the geological connection highlighted.
Okay, tell me about that. What's the science link?
It links to the concept of isostasy. Basically, mountains aren't just bumps on the surface. They have deep roots extending down into the Earth's mantle.
Oh, right. So they go deep.
Yeah, really deep. And these roots act like anchors, stabilizing the Earth's crust, just like a peg driven into the ground provides stability.
So the peg analogy isn't just descriptive, it's presented as functionally accurate from a geological standpoint.
That's the claim, that it reflects a fundamental aspect of planetary geology, how mountains help stabilize tectonic plates. It's quite a specific image.
It is. Okay, let's zoom back out then. We started with the universe's origin. Does the Quran say anything, according to these sources, about the universe now, its current state?
Yes, there's another verse that's often cited as quite remarkable, Surah Ad-Dariyat, verse 51.47.
And what does that one say?
It states, "We built the heaven with might, and we are expanding it."
Expanding it. Did I hear that right?
It's a translation provided. We are expanding it. A direct statement about the expansion of the universe, of the heavens.
Wow. Okay, because the fact that the universe is expanding is a cornerstone of modern cosmology, but it was only really discovered, what, in the 20th century? With Hubble.
Exactly. Confirmed relatively recently through astronomical observations like redshift and the cosmic microwave background. So finding a statement like, "we're expanding it" in a 7th century text.
Is presented as incredibly significant, a direct reference, centuries ahead of its scientific confirmation.
It definitely makes you pause and think. This idea of convergence between ancient text and modern finding, it runs through all these examples.
It does. It forces you to grapple with how such, well, apparent foreknowledge could exist. What does it imply about the nature of knowledge, or maybe revelation?
That's the deep question, isn't it?
Yeah.
If scientific insights appear in text long before humans could discover them empirically, what does that tell us? It's more than just trivia.
So wrapping this up then, what does this all mean for you listening? We've walked through these examples presented in the sources, the cosmos, the embryo, Earth systems, the expanding universe. It shows this proposed link between spiritual text and scientific fact.
An invitation, really, for believers, and maybe skeptics too, just to reflect on it.
What stands out to you? Which of these connections, if any, seems most compelling or surprising?
Yeah, and thinking beyond just these examples, consider this. If it's possible for ancient texts to contain this kind of knowledge that aligns so closely with later scientific discovery, what does that suggest about how we, as humans, acquire profound understanding?
Does it challenge our usual ideas about learning just through observation and experiment?
Maybe it broadens the picture. Does it suggest other ways profound insights might emerge or be revealed? It's a really provocative thought about the future of how we understand our world, and maybe even how we approach learning itself, something to definitely mull over.
If you found this story inspiring, don't forget to like, share it with your loved ones, and subscribe to the channel for more beautiful Islamic insights. And make sure to press the bell icon so you never miss a moment of reflection and learning. Jazakum Allahu khairan for your support.